Hi everyone, welcome to Legal Limelight. Today's guests are Scott and Daniel. They are the co-founders of Spellbook. It's the first generative AI tool for contract drafting, specifically for lawyers. I did a demo the other day and it completely blew my mind. And we've all been saying, when is this coming? I've been dreaming of these tools ever since I started practicing law because I truly believe that there are efficiencies and AI-based tools that could help make the practice of law better, easier, more efficient, which will truly allow lawyers to live a better life, less burnout, more focusing on strategy and higher level concepts for clients, and also being able to charge clients less. I think it's a win-win all around. So I'm really excited to talk with Scott and Daniel today. I think they're coming right up now.
Awesome. How's it going, Daniel? Yeah.
Hi.
Looks like Scott as well. Can you hear me okay?
It's good to I can hear
Excellent.
you perfectly. Scott is here. He just has a request to join. Let me see if I can bring him up. Yeah, there we go.
Perfect. Well, glad to hear you had a demo yesterday and it went well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Adam. Is Adam your salesperson? I don't know how I could forget that. I have two Adams. My husband, my oldest son is Adam, so can't forget that.
Hey, Francesca.
Hey,
So
Scott.
I'm a few minutes late here. First time on Instagram Live. It's pretty cool, though.
No,
Thanks for having us.
Actually.
it's revolutionary.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I gave you guys I introduced both of you as co-founders of the first generative AI-based tool to draft contracts for lawyers. Whatever algorithm or whatever you did for your Instagram targeting ads worked. It worked on me. I saw it and was like, oh my gosh, I need to do a demo of this. And we did the demo and it just kind of like blew my mind how integrated and like life-changing it really is. So I wanted to just share it with the broader community.
Awesome.
And happy to have you guys here.
Well, I guess Dan and I can kind of introduce our roles a little bit with the company, and awesome to hear that those ads are working well. We'll forward that feedback to our growth manager, Kurt, who kind of concocted that. And it seems like there's a massive kind of legal community on Instagram, and it's actually our biggest source of people signing up for a waitlist. So it's been amazing to see. And I'm trying to get a little more acquainted with the legal community on here. But yeah, just some quick intros. So Daniel and I are two of the founders. There's also a third founder, Matthew. Dan's the lawyer on the team. Maybe Dan, you can start with your background.
Yeah. So my background's in law. Practiced law briefly before getting into tech. And Scott and I started our company Rally. Initially in the automation space, and we've been following large language model tech pretty much since GitHub Copilot, which I think, Scott, that was like June 2021, right? So a little bit of a while ago. And kind of being in both camps, being in both the legal tech space where we spend all of our time talking to lawyers, and the other half of our time developing software. We really saw the opportunity to use generative AI to help our lawyer customers enjoy work more and get stuff done faster and better. And what really spoke to me about it right from the get-go before we launched it last year was how effective Spellbook could be when drafting and reviewing documents, which I always found were the most painful hours that you would bill for, whereas the most enjoyable ones would be working with clients, helping them strategize their legal issues and that kind of thing. So that's what really spoke to me about it as a ex-practitioner.
You used a word that I said at the beginning too, strategy, which the reality is AI is here and it is a disruptor. If you think that the practice of law is going to be the same that it was, even a few years ago, you literally will be replaced by lawyers like me who are thinking of how to integrate it into the practice, because you're right, it's more about being strategic, giving practical legal advice for clients that almost overlaps with business advice too. So I do think for anyone who is entering the practice of law or is in the practice of law, it's time to learn this and think how you can advise clients more efficiently, because the technology is here. But that doesn't mean your job is going away. I think it means that you just have to figure out better ways, and like for one very obvious one is with the higher level strategy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we firmly believe that lawyers aren't going anywhere. We work with lawyers, we've been talking for a long time. Even when you use the AI system on a document set or for a specific legal task, as good as it is, it's the kind of thing that you need to have the lawyer review and kind of put the puzzle piece that it will generate for you into the right spot. It's not really going to do that for you, if that makes sense. When we initially entered the market, we were looking at some of the tools out there that kind of like things like LegalZoom and Rocket Lawyer that are kind of a business to consumer tool primarily, where people can use those to do basic legal work instead of a lawyer, I guess. And one thing that we found a lot when interviewing prospective customers with those types of tools was what we described as DIY anxiety. So even if like you had a tool do something for you as a person with a legal issue, it's worth having somebody kind of say like, hey, like you need this for this thing, and the lawyer adds that, and that's invaluable, and that's a huge part of the value they add. So yeah,
it's invaluable. I can't tell you how many, like, I don't want to like diss any platforms, but like you could just tell, like, there's a reason why people go to law school and suffer for that long. There's tips, tricks, strategies, and if you don't do it right, the right way, you could really end up losing. I've seen people lose their IP or lose their company over it.
Absolutely. So. Yeah. It's and I think when we started this company, we started down the path of helping create legal efficiency. We were super naive at first at how much might be able to be automated. We started with template-based approaches, and I think templates are really helpful for certain aspects of, very highly repeated transactions. But we would always hear from our customers with the template-based approach that like, oh, this is cool, but it really doesn't capture the nuance of what I have to do for my clients. We would hear that over and over and over with the template-based approach, and like trying to create a template that would capture all of the different nuances of a piece of legal work, a matter would be really, really difficult. And the opportunity we saw with large language models and generative AI was to really we call it assistive AI. So we really don't like try to automate anything away from the lawyer at all. We help them move faster to do the sorts of nuanced surgery that they need to do for that client. And I still think that that's very far away from being automated. And then that trust factor, on top of that, even if you could automate a lot of the, markups that a lawyer might do to say a sales contract or something, still the client has no idea what all of that means and what it means to them and what risk level is appropriate to take. So yeah, we really taken that approach of like assisting lawyers to do the work that they're already doing a little faster, a little more efficient without the sort of grunt work involved. And it's been going really well.
The main concern that I think a lot of like more traditional lawyers is like their concern is, which no one wants to admit, but I'm going to tell you, they are incentivized to take a long time because of the hourly rate, which I have so much to say about the hourly rate that I could ramble on. I believe that it's a huge factor behind burnout and unrealistic expectations and client billable hours. I used to work in big law and I hit burnout. So I think, and hopefully this will push more lawyers in the direction of flat fees. and using fee caps or some sort of alternative arrangements and not just relying on the billable hour. I think it's time, because if you are going to be able to do it in less time, but the value is still, you know, X, but the time doesn't really reflect that, then it's the business of law. And I think lawyers and even, you know, the legal industry itself and the ethics regulators have to take this into consideration, that the industry has to change, that we need to be more flexible and not just tie our services directly to the hourly rate, because with efficiencies, lawyers will make less money, but it's being smart and strategic about how else to capitalize on it. And for example, one of the things that we do are flat rates or alternative rates, and having a higher billable hour rate. My billable hour rate is definitely higher, but because I use tools to make it much more quicker. So you end up paying the same, but it takes me half the time. So have you seen, you know, any lawyers talk about this? It's something that is
we hear about it all the time. I mean, if you can, you know, leverage tech in your practice to spend a lot less time on something and you bill for a flat fee for that, your effective hourly rate might be higher than if you billed hourly at your, you know, regular kind of prescribed rate. I mean, you know, we encounter the billable hour a lot. You know, being in legal tech this long, it's just something that you inevitably have to run into if you, you know, are building a tool that helps lawyers, you know, do things faster than they otherwise would. I mean, you know, you could argue, like that the legal profession like is like inherently against efficiency, just kind of how they're incentivized, and it's definitely an issue to some extent for sure. But you know, I think it's tough. Like certainly some things are not well suited to the billable hour, like kind of transactional stuff that's either fairly routine or it's easy to see in advance how long it would take to do something. And there's, you know, many examples. But I mean, it's really about like who's going to take the risk. If you're billing hourly, the client takes all the risk of additional time and complexity. And if you're billing on a flat fee basis, then the lawyer takes all the risk, because if it goes off the rails and there's all those additional things you have to do, then that flat fee rate can cause the lawyer at the end of the day to make a lot less profit, which could be a problem for them, right? I mean, I think, you know, the good thing about AI, which is it's true whether you're billing hourly or flat fee or both, is it gives you flexibility to supercharge the speed of doing things when the opportunity exists, and you know, that's useful whether you're billing hourly or flat fee.
Yeah, you're so right, and I think it's just a concept that and it's different for every lawyer. You can't do a flat fee for everything, but I've seen that there are things that if you do them over enough times where you can offer it, and then, you know, lawyers are still making money while being, I think it all comes down to the incentive. Like we have to incentivize the industry to integrate these tools and become more modernized. Like the legal tech, it's not an industry that's like with millions and millions of companies. So, I love what you guys are doing. I encourage every lawyer to do the demo and see how they can integrate it, and just you have to embrace it and figure out how to, you know, include it in your business.
We love it. Anyone who sees this to sign up, and we have a wait list. I think over almost 40,000 people have signed up for a wait list. But if anyone sees this video, we'll bump you to the front. So you can just mention that you saw us here. But to echo what you're saying on billable hour and flat fee, we've seen some really interesting trends. One is that we see, the small boutique mid-sized firms are definitely like rapidly adopting flat fee and contingency-based billing, and it's helping them a lot when they adopt AI-based tools, because you know, smaller firms struggle with capacity. You know, getting overbooked is a huge struggle. You're up late, you're trying to deliver too much client work at once. The work tends to come in clumps. And so we really help those firms, small, nimble firms, a lot. And they adopt that flat fee billing rate. And we're seeing those smaller firms adopt AI really, really fast. Like a lot of this, like 40,000 people on our wait list is a lot of small and boutique firms. And then we're also seeing tons of interest from big law as well, but it's different. It's different incentives,
Yes.
and the obviously the hourly billing model is much more important to the kind of the big law business model. So we're seeing there, you know, the value prop is a little more around making sure that our bigger team is consistent, like we're reviewing documents consistently, or catching errors and problems, and you can also use these tools to just have a higher quality output and make sure that things don't slip through the cracks. So yeah, there's different reasons to adopt AI, but yeah, it's pretty interesting to see like very different reasons for adopting it between, I'd say, small to mid law and big law customers. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, and like the reason why I started this conversation is because like I burnt out in 2020, and you know, when you're a big law associate or an associate at any firm, you're expected to do a lot. Like you really are expected to just grind it out and put in an insane amount of hours. And I just remember thinking like, I could be way more productive. Like I could still make the business a lot of money if I didn't have to do all these admin things, or if there was just a database with all the clause provisions. So I'm like, I would love to know if you could talk more about like the difference between templates, databases, and the AI, because you know that's where we were at as a business. Is I've templatized everything, but still the copying and pasting, it frustrates the crap out of me. So can you talk a little bit about like why the AI
Yeah,
is
sure.
so helpful
In comparison
in
to
that space?
say templates and like clause databases. Yeah.
Yes.
Great question. So one thing I'll say is I think AI is going to kind of bring all of this stuff together. So your templates, eventually you'll be able to ask the AI like, oh, can you find me a template for this? And it will, you know, find you the appropriate template from what you've previously drafted. And that's actually something we're working on now. Where you're trying to draft a new matter, you're trying to find the right template, and AI could help you find it. So I think AI is going to help bring all that together. We're big fans of template automation. We have a template automation system that, you know, hundreds of law firms have used and still use. I think it's great for that starting point for a lot of types of transactions. But like you said, actually, you know, getting that from the template to completion can take a lot of work. There can be a lot of nuances around that particular client's transaction that just you never foresaw in the template. And then, you know, a lot of legal teams always say, oh, I'm going to go back and update the template. But it doesn't happen very often, we find. So that can make it tricky.
Yeah.
So, just getting that template to the final state can just take a lot of work. The copying and pasting is tough. It can be tricky. Whereas with AI, say you need a very particular clause added to that template that you never had before. You could draft that clause on the spot that captures the very specific nuances of that transaction, which can be really helpful. I think that nuanced drafting capability of being able to say, I need a clause to do this very particular thing for a client and I didn't use it before, can be super helpful. We're also integrating in like clause databases. So if you have a list of clauses and language that you like, we'll be able to draw from that as well. And we're also working with some like popular legal libraries to be able to pull, say, legal language from other popular data sets. We can't say much more about that right now, but something we're working on. Yeah.
I know, and I know how this game works. You guys are either gonna like stay founders and build it and fight the money that's gonna be thrown, or you're gonna end up with like LexisNexis for Clarivate. But we will see, to be determined.
Yeah.
No, it's so cool, and I'm really glad you guys took the time to come on here. It's really exciting, and I think this is just the beginning. It, you know, for lawyers, and your target customers, really like lawyers, you've made that clear. I have all these great ideas, and I say, I wish I could do this, but it's here. Like it really is here. So if anyone is interested, you should take them up on this offer to get the demo and see. Because I know that this really is the future, and it's really great that you guys have come together to build this tool.
Awesome.
We're excited.
Great. Yeah, you can go to spellbook.legal if you're interested, sign up for the waitlist, and you can submit a message in the contact form, say you saw us here on Legal Limelight, and we'll bump you to the front of the wait list. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure. Keep us posted. We'd love to have you back once you like formally, you know, launch and everything.
Awesome. Great.
Do any updates.
Thanks for having us, Francesca. Have a good one. Bye.
Okay, talk to y'all soon. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. This was Legal Limelight. We're here every Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and we'll see you next week.